Let's talk about uveal melanoma. Hi, my name is Zach Oki. I'm a retina specialist and ocular oncologist from Irvine, California. Let's talk about this cancer. Uveal melanoma is the most common primary intraocular cancer in adults. When I say primary, what I mean is it develops in the eye and doesn't develop from some other part of the body coming to the eye. Uveal melanoma typically derives from a freckle in the choroid. The choroid is a layer of blood vessels underneath the retina in the back of the eye, but it also can develop from other parts of the eye, including the iris and the ciliary body. We estimate that the incidence of this cancer is about 6 people per million per year. It can harm the vision, but also, like typical cancers, it can actually be life-threatening as well. The way it harms the vision is that a tumor develops underneath the retina, it begins to leak, and it might even start to invade the retina, cause bleeding, and that can cause harm to the vision for sure. Eventually, if it's not treated, then it becomes a space-occupying lesion. It completely fills the eye, and the eye essentially goes totally blind. Most melanomas are caught before that time point because usually at some point they become symptomatic, either because the retina is detaching on top of the melanoma, or there are flashing lights or new floaters or something, and that prompts someone to go see an eye doctor. There are many situations in which someone comes to my clinic only because they started to develop new floaters, flashes, these kinds of things, and the eye doctor says, yeah, your retina's detached, but it's not in the usual way. It's because there's a tumor underneath the retina. There are many things that go into the diagnosis of a melanoma, which I won't describe here. It's very exhaustive. But once a diagnosis of melanoma is made, then we essentially have a couple ways that we can treat it. Treatment option number one is radiation. Radiation comes in the form of either something called plaque brachytherapy or proton beam therapy. Plaque brachytherapy is a surgical procedure in which we place a radioactive thing up against the eye. We leave it there for about a week and then we take it off. Proton beam therapy is a treatment where radiation comes from a source, enters through a tube, and then it goes through the eye and finally reaches the melanoma in the back of the eye. The other option that we can choose is removing the eye. It sounds barbaric, it sounds crazy, but in some cases, particularly for a large melanoma, it's really our only option because radiation would be too much for the eye to handle. When I say too much for the eye to handle, what I mean is we have to use a ton of radiation to get to a large tumor, which inevitably blinds the eye, makes it a painful experience, etc. So in some cases, it's best just to remove the eye to avoid all of those issues. When someone has melanoma, there's a chance that it could metastasize from the eye to the liver. When I say metastasize, what I mean